The galaxy was a vast expanse of countless civilizations, each with its own unique culture, technology, and history. Humanity was a newcomer to this intricate web of interstellar politics and alliances. Despite their relative youth, humans had quickly earned a reputation for their bold and unpredictable nature. Captain John Mitchell of the USS Valkyrie embodied this spirit of adventure and determination. Under his command, the Valkyrie had become one of the most renowned ships in the United Earth Fleet. "Captain, we've detected a massive energy signature on the edge of our sensor range," reported Lieutenant Arya Kane, the ship's science officer. Her voice, calm and analytical, broke the monotony of their routine patrol. "Let's check it out," John ordered, his curiosity piqued. The crew had learned to trust their captain's instincts, which had saved them on more than one occasion. The Valkyrie adjusted its course, speeding towards the unknown. As they approached the source of the anomaly, the crew's anticipation grew. What they found left them in awe and fear. On the view screen, a colossal alien fleet came into view, its sheer size and power overwhelming. The ships were unlike any the humans had encountered before, sleek and deadly, bristling with advanced weaponry. "Captain, these readings are off the charts," Arya said, her eyes wide with disbelief. "This fleet is more advanced than anything we've seen." "Open a channel," John commanded. "This is Captain John Mitchell of the USS Valkyrie. We come in peace." There was a tense silence before the view screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced alien with pale iridescent skin and piercing blue eyes. His presence was commanding, exuding an aura of authority and danger. "I am High Commander Zarex of the Zathari Dominion. State your purpose here, human," the alien said, his tone laced with suspicion. "We are explorers seeking knowledge and peaceful relations," John replied, keeping his tone diplomatic. "We mean you no harm." Zarex's eyes narrowed, scrutinizing John and his crew. "Your kind is known for your unpredictability and recklessness. Prove to me that you are not a threat." John smiled, confident in his approach. "How about we start with a gesture of goodwill? We'll share our technology and knowledge in exchange for the same from you." Zarex considered the offer, his expression unreadable. After a moment that felt like an eternity, he nodded slowly. "Very well. Meet us on our flagship. Bring only your senior officers." John agreed, and soon he, Arya, and a few other key officers were aboard the Zathari flagship. The interior was a marvel of alien engineering, filled with technology that was both advanced and aesthetically alien. Intricate designs adorned the walls, and the air hummed with a subtle, almost musical vibration. "Impressive," Arya whispered, her eyes wide with wonder as they were escorted through the ship's corridors. As they entered the conference room, Zarex greeted them with a guarded expression. "Let's see if your actions match your words, Captain." John outlined his proposal in detail, explaining how humanity had much to offer, including advanced medical technology and innovations in energy efficiency. He highlighted humanity's resilience and their ability to adapt, traits that had enabled them to thrive in the vast and often hostile galaxy. Zarex listened intently, but it was clear he remained skeptical. "Your words are convincing, Captain, but trust is not easily earned among my people. We have been deceived before." Before John could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The conference room's lighting shifted to a harsh red, signaling an emergency. "What's happening?" John demanded, his hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. Zarex's expression turned grim. "We are under attack. A rival faction, the Zalaxian hegemony, has found us." The tension in the room skyrocketed. The humans quickly volunteered to help defend the Zathari fleet. "Are you insane?" Zarex asked, incredulous. "You don't even know us." John's eyes burned with determination. "We help our friends, whether we just met or not." Back on the Valkyrie, John and his crew sprang into action. The ship's weapons systems roared to life as they engaged the Zalaxian forces. The battle was fierce and chaotic, with energy blasts and missiles crisscrossing the void. Ships from both sides darted and weaved, trying to outmaneuver each other in a deadly dance. "Shields at 70%, Arya reported from her station. "But we're holding." John nodded, focused on the task at hand. "Target their command ship. If we can take it out, the rest might retreat." With precise coordination, The Valkyrie unleashed a barrage of firepower that crippled the Zalaxian command ship. The enemy vessel shuddered under the assault, its hull splitting apart in a series of catastrophic explosions. As predicted, the remaining enemy vessels began to fall back, retreating from the battlefield. After the battle, Zarex approached John with newfound respect. "You humans truly are insane," he said, a rare smile crossing his face. "But perhaps that's what we need." The alliance between humanity and the Zathari Dominion was forged in the heat of battle, and together they began to plan their next move against the Zalaxians. As the two fleets worked side by side, the humans and Zathari began to learn from each other, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. With the newfound alliance between humans and the Zathari Dominion, Captain John Mitchell and High Commander Zarex set their sights on the Zalaxian hegemony. The Zalaxians, known for their ruthless tactics and technological prowess, posed a significant threat to the fragile peace in the galaxy. In the strategic command room aboard the Valkyrie, holographic displays flickered to life, showing detailed maps of Zalaxian territory. John, Zarex, and their respective officers gathered around the central table. "We need to strike at their heart," John began, his voice firm. "Take out their key installations, disrupt their supply lines, and cripple their ability to wage war." Zarex nodded, but his skepticism was evident. "It's a bold plan, Captain, but how do you propose we get past their defenses? The Zalaxians are not easily caught off guard." John smiled, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "We go undercover, disguise ourselves as traitors, and infiltrate their territory. Once inside, we can sabotage their operations from within." The room fell silent as the officers processed the plan. It was audacious, bordering on reckless, exactly what they had come to expect from their human allies. Zarex finally spoke, his tone a mix of admiration and concern. "Your plan is unconventional, Captain, but then so are you. Very well, let us proceed with this insane proposal." Disguised as traitors, the Valkyrie and a select group of Zathari ships slipped into Zalaxian space. The tension aboard the Valkyrie was palpable as the crew navigated through hostile territory, avoiding patrols and checkpoints. The ship's exterior had been modified to resemble a common trade vessel, and the crew wore civilian attire to complete the ruse. "Almost there," Arya said, her voice steady despite the danger. "Just a little further." Their target was a massive weapons factory on the planet Zalax Prime, critical to the Zalaxian war effort. The factory's defenses were formidable, with layers of shields and automated turrets protecting the facility. But John's plan hinged on stealth and precision, not brute force. "Remember, we only get one shot at this," John reminded his team as they prepared for the mission. "Stay focused and stick to the plan." The infiltration team, composed of both humans and Zathari, descended to the planet's surface in a small shuttle. They landed in a remote area, using the dense forest to conceal their approach. Moving swiftly and silently, they reached the outskirts of the factory. "Plant the charges and get out," John instructed. "We need to be in and out before they realize what's happening." The team split into smaller groups, each tasked with a specific objective. Arya and her squad infiltrated the factory's main control room, hacking into the security systems to disable the alarms and surveillance cameras. Meanwhile, John and his group planted explosive charges at key structural points. As they worked, the tension mounted. Every second felt like an eternity as they moved through the enemy facility, knowing that discovery would mean certain death. Finally, the charges were set, and the team regrouped at the extraction point. "Detonate on my mark," John ordered, his finger hovering over the trigger. 3, 2, 1, mark. The explosives erupted in a series of deafening blasts, sending shock waves through the facility. The ground trembled as the factory's infrastructure collapsed, engulfed in flames and smoke. "Mission accomplished," John said, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. "Let's get out of here." The team raced back to the shuttle, the sounds of chaos and destruction echoing behind them. As they ascended into the sky, they saw the full extent of their handiwork. The factory was a smoldering ruin, its production capabilities obliterated. The successful infiltration and destruction of the Zalaxian weapons factory sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Zalaxian hegemony, enraged and humiliated, responded with overwhelming force. They launched a massive counterattack on Zathari space, determined to crush their new enemies. On the bridge of the USS Valkyrie, alarms blared as the ship's sensors detected an incoming fleet. "Captain, we have multiple Zalaxian warships heading straight for us," reported Lieutenant Arya Kane, her fingers dancing over the control panels. John Mitchell stood at the center of the bridge, his expression grim. "All hands, battle stations. Prepare for immediate combat." The crew sprang into action, their movements precise and practiced. The Valkyrie's weapon systems roared to life as they prepared to engage the enemy. The ship's shields flared, creating a protective bubble against the incoming onslaught. "Shields at 70%, Arya reported. "But we're holding." John nodded, his focus unyielding. "Target their lead ships. We need to break their formation." The Valkyrie unleashed a barrage of firepower, energy blasts and missiles streaking through space to impact the Zalaxian warships. Explosions rippled across the battlefield as ships on both sides were torn apart in the ferocious exchange. "Incoming fighters!" shouted Lieutenant Marcus Reyes from the tactical station. "They're targeting our engines." "Deploy countermeasures and focus our point defense systems on those fighters," John ordered. "We can't let them cripple us." The Valkyrie's anti-fighter defenses activated, spewing a hail of projectiles and laser beams at the swarming Zalaxian fighters. Despite their efforts, a few enemy ships managed to slip through, unleashing devastating attacks on the Valkyrie's engines. "Engine power is fluctuating," reported Chief Engineer Elena Orloff. "We're taking heavy damage." John clenched his fists, determination burning in his eyes. "We need to hold the line. All available power to shields and weapons. We can't afford to lose this battle." As the Valkyrie and its allies fought desperately to repel the Zalaxian assault, it became clear that the enemy's numbers and firepower were overwhelming. The Zathari fleet, though brave and determined, was being pushed to the brink. "Captain, we're not going to last much longer at this rate," Arya said, her voice tense. "We need a new strategy." John's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then a daring idea struck him. "We need to take out their command ship. If we can decapitate their leadership, it might throw them into disarray." The plan was risky, bordering on suicidal, but it was their best shot. The Valkyrie adjusted its course, heading straight for the heart of the Zalaxian fleet. The enemy command ship loomed ahead, a massive behemoth bristling with weapons. "Focus all fire on that command ship," John ordered. "Give it everything we've got." The Valkyrie and its allies unleashed a concentrated barrage, targeting the command ship's critical systems. The Zalaxian vessel shuddered under the relentless assault, its shields flickering and failing. Just as the Valkyrie prepared to deliver the finishing blow, a new wave of Zalaxian reinforcements arrived, threatening to overwhelm them. Desperation gripped the crew as they faced the seemingly insurmountable odds. But then something unexpected happened. A fleet of unfamiliar ships emerged from hyperspace, joining the battle on the side of the Valkyrie and the Zathari. These new arrivals were sleek and agile, their weaponry cutting through the Zalaxian ranks with precision. "Who are they?" Arya asked, her eyes wide with surprise. John's communicator buzzed to life and a voice crackled through the static. "This is Admiral Corey of the Saran Collective. We received your distress signal and came to assist. Let's show these Zalaxians what happens when they mess with the wrong species." Hope surged through the crew as the Saran Collective's ships engaged the Zalaxian fleet. With their combined firepower, the tide of the battle began to turn. The Zalaxian command ship, already weakened, was now vulnerable. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command ship," John ordered, his voice filled with renewed determination. "Let's finish this." The Valkyrie and its allies poured everything they had into the final assault. Explosions rocked the Zalaxian command ship as its defenses crumbled. With one last devastating salvo, the massive vessel was engulfed in a fiery explosion, its remains scattered across the battlefield. Seeing their command ship destroyed, the remaining Zalaxian forces began to retreat, their resolve shattered. Cheers erupted on the bridge of the Valkyrie as the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. Admiral Corey's face appeared on the view screen, her expression stern but approving. You fought bravely, Captain Mitchell. The Saran Collective is honored to stand with you and the Zethari Dominion. Together we will ensure that the Zalaxian hegemony's reign of terror comes to an end. John nodded, gratitude and determination in his eyes. Thank you, Admiral Corey. With allies like you, there's no limit to what we can achieve. As the combined fleets regrouped and began to plan their next move, a new sense of hope and unity filled the galaxy. The humans, the Zethari, and their newfound allies in the Saran Collective were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to protect their freedom and their future. The alliance between humanity, the Zethari Dominion, and the Saran Collective was solidified in the aftermath of their victory. With their combined strength, they began to formulate a bold strategy to bring down the Zalaxian hegemony once and for all. In the war room aboard the Valkyrie, holographic maps and tactical displays filled the air. John Mitchell, High Commander Zarex, and Admiral Corey stood at the center, surrounded by their top officers. The atmosphere was tense, but charged with a sense of purpose. We need to strike at the heart of the Zalaxian hegemony, John began, his voice clear and confident. Their capital, Zalax Prime, is heavily fortified, but it's also their Achilles heel. If we can infiltrate and disable their planetary defenses, we can launch a full-scale assault and force them to surrender. Zarex nodded, his expression thoughtful. It's a sound plan, Captain, but getting past their defenses will be no easy feat. The Zalaxians are prepared for any direct assault. John smiled, a glint of determination in his eyes. That's why we won't be launching a direct assault. We'll use the element of surprise. A small elite team will infiltrate Zalax Prime, sabotage their defenses from within, and create an opening for our main fleet. Admiral Corey crossed her arms, her gaze steady. It's risky, but it's our best shot. Who will lead the infiltration team? John didn't hesitate. I will, along with a hand-picked team of our best operatives from all three factions. We'll need experts in infiltration, hacking, and demolition. We can't afford any mistakes. The officers exchanged glances, their respect for John evident. Despite the risks, they knew that his leadership had brought them this far. Zarex and Corey both nodded in agreement. Very well, Zarex said. You have our support, Captain. We'll prepare our fleets for the assault. May the stars guide you. Disguised as a merchant vessel, the infiltration team shuttle slipped into Zalaxian space under the guise of a routine supply run. The crew was a diverse mix of humans, Zethari, and Saran operatives, each selected for their unique skills and expertise. John Mitchell led the team, his demeanor calm and focused. Arya Kane, the brilliant science officer, was by his side, along with Lieutenant Marcus Reyes, the tactical expert. From the Zethari, they had Specialist Nara, an infiltration specialist, and from the Saran Collective, Tech Master Lyra, an expert in hacking and electronic warfare. As they approached Zalax Prime, the planet's defenses loomed ahead, a formidable array of satellites, turrets, and patrol ships. The team maintained their cover, transmitting false credentials and docking at a remote outpost under the pretense of delivering supplies. Remember, we only have one shot at this, John reminded his team as they disembarked. Stick to the plan, and we'll get through this. The team split into smaller groups, each with a specific objective. Arya and Lyra headed to the control center to disable the planetary defenses, while John, Marcus, and Nara moved towards the main power plant to plant explosives. Navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the Zalaxian facility, the team encountered various security measures. Nara's skills were put to the test as she bypassed locks and disabled surveillance cameras with ease. Lyra worked her magic in the control center, hacking into the system to create a window of opportunity. Almost there, Lyra whispered, her fingers flying over the console. Just a few more seconds. Meanwhile, John and his group reached the power plant. The massive reactor hummed with energy, a critical component of the planet's defenses. Marcus began setting the charges while John and Nara kept watch. We're in, Lyra's voice crackled over the comms. Defenses are down for now, but we need to move fast. John acknowledged the message. Understood. We're almost done here. With the charges set, the team regrouped and made their way to the extraction point. The tension was palpable as they moved through the enemy facility, knowing that any mistake could lead to their capture or worse. "Detonate on my mark," John ordered as they reached the shuttle. 3, 2, 1, mark. The explosives erupted in a series of deafening blasts, sending shockwaves through the facility. Alarms blared as the power plant was engulfed in flames, the destruction crippling the Zalaxian defenses. "Mission accomplished," John said, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. "Let's get out of here." As the shuttle ascended into the sky, the team saw the full extent of their handiwork. Zalax Prime's defenses were in disarray, leaving the planet vulnerable to the impending assault. Back aboard the Valkyrie, John and his team were greeted with cheers and applause. The mission had been a success, but the real challenge was yet to come. "Prepare the fleet," John commanded. "We move on Zalax Prime. It's time to end this war." The Allied fleet surged through space, a formidable armada of human, Zathari, and Soran ships converging on Zalax Prime. The planet's once impenetrable defenses were now in shambles, thanks to the infiltration team's daring sabotage. However, the Zalaxians were far from defeated. Their response was swift and merciless. "Incoming enemy ships, Captain," Lieutenant Arya Kane reported, her voice steady despite the urgency. "They're launching a full-scale counterattack." Captain John Mitchell stood at the bridge of the USS Valkyrie, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen. "All hands, battle stations. This is it, people. We hold the line and push forward." The space around Zalax Prime erupted into chaos as the two fleets clashed. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma torpedoes crisscrossed the void, creating a deadly tapestry of destruction. The Valkyrie took point, its advanced shields and weaponry leading the charge. "Shields at 60% but holding," Arya reported, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Focus fire on their heavy cruisers," John ordered. "We need to break their formation." The Valkyrie unleashed a barrage of concentrated firepower, targeting the Zalaxian cruisers that formed the backbone of their fleet. Explosions rippled across the enemy ships, but the Zalaxians retaliated fiercely. One of their cruisers fired a devastating volley at the Valkyrie, shaking the entire ship. "We're taking heavy damage," Chief Engineer Elena Orlov's voice crackled over the comms. "If this keeps up, we won't last much longer." John's mind raced, searching for a solution. "Admiral Corey, we need to create an opening for our bombers. Can your ships provide cover?" Admiral Corey's voice responded with unwavering resolve. "Understood, Captain. Soran ships form a defensive screen and protect the Valkyrie." The Soran collective's sleek, agile vessels moved into position, intercepting enemy fire and giving the Valkyrie a much-needed respite. John watched as the Soran ships executed precise maneuvers, their coordination and discipline evident. "Bombers away," Marcus Reyes reported from the tactical station. "Let's hope this works." The Allied bombers streaked towards Zalax Prime, their payloads aimed at key installations on the planet's surface. The Zalaxian fighters swarmed to intercept, but the Soran and Zathari fighters engaged them in a fierce dogfight, providing cover for the bombers. "Direct hit on their planetary shields," Arya announced, a note of triumph in her voice. "The shields are down." A cheer erupted on the bridge, but John knew the battle was far from over. "Prepare for the ground assault. We need to secure the capital and force their surrender." With the planetary shields disabled, the Allied fleet focused on neutralizing the remaining Zalaxian warships. The space around Zalax Prime was a maelstrom of destruction, but the tide was turning in favor of the Allies. The combined might of humanity, the Zathari Dominion, and the Soran Collective proved too formidable for the Zalaxians to withstand. "Captain, enemy fleet is in full retreat," Arya reported. "They're falling back to regroup." John nodded, his determination unwavering. "All right, let's not give them any respite. Deploy the ground forces and secure the capital. We need to end this war now." As the Allied dropships descended towards the planet's surface, John prepared to lead the ground assault. The infiltration team had already cleared the way, but the Zalaxian capital was still a dangerous place. He knew that this final push would be the most challenging and decisive part of the campaign. "Ready, Captain?" asked Nara, the Zathari specialist, who had proven invaluable during the infiltration mission. John nodded, checking his gear. "Let's do this. We take the capital and force their surrender." The dropships touched down amidst the war-torn landscape of Zalax Prime. The city, once a symbol of Zalaxian power, was now a battlefield. The Allied ground forces, composed of soldiers from all three factions, moved with precision and coordination. "Keep pushing forward," John urged his team. "We need to reach the palace." The fighting was intense, with Zalaxian soldiers putting up a fierce resistance. The streets were filled with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and the screams of combatants. Despite the chaos, the Allied forces advanced steadily, their combined strength proving overwhelming. As they approached the palace, the final stronghold of the Zalaxian leadership, John knew that this was the moment of truth. The palace was heavily fortified, but they had no choice but to press on. "Breaching charges now," John ordered, and the demolition experts moved into position. The charges exploded, creating a breach in the palace walls. John and his team stormed through, their weapons ready. The interior was a maze of corridors and chambers, but they navigated with purpose, heading straight for the throne room. The final confrontation was brutal. The Zalaxian leader, a towering figure of authority, awaited them with a cadre of elite guards. The battle that ensued was fierce and desperate, with both sides fighting with everything they had. "We're not leaving without you," John declared, his voice unwavering as he faced the Zalaxian leader. After a grueling fight, they managed to subdue the Zalaxian leader and broadcast his surrender across the planet. The fighting ceased as the Zalaxian forces realized their leader had been captured. "Stand down," the Zalaxian leader commanded, his voice resonating through the city's loudspeakers. "The war is over." The Allied forces erupted in cheers, their victory hard-earned and decisive. As the Zalaxian soldiers laid down their arms, John felt a profound sense of relief and accomplishment. With the war over, a new era of cooperation began. The humans, the Zathari, and their newfound allies in the Saran Collective worked together to rebuild and forge a lasting peace. The alliance, born out of necessity and strengthened by shared sacrifice, promised a brighter future for all. "You humans truly are insane," Zarek said, shaking his head with a rare smile. "But I wouldn't have it any other way." John smiled back. "Sometimes a little insanity is exactly what you need." As the USS Valkyrie set off on its next mission, the crew looked forward to the adventures that lay ahead, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy had in store. With the Zalaxian leader captured and the war seemingly over, the Allied forces began the arduous task of stabilizing Zalax Prime. The city, scarred by the recent battles, required extensive reconstruction efforts. However, amidst the initial euphoria of victory, new challenges began to emerge. In the command center established within the Zalaxian palace, Captain John Mitchell, High Commander Zarex, and Admiral Corey convened to discuss the next steps. The room, once a symbol of Zalaxian authority, now served as the nerve center for the Allied operations. "We've secured the capital and neutralized the remaining Zalaxian forces," John began, his voice steady, "but reports are coming in about scattered pockets of resistance across the planet, loyalist factions refusing to accept the surrender." Zarex nodded, his expression grim. "It's to be expected. The Zalaxian hegemony was built on fear and control. Not all will lay down their arms willingly." Admiral Corey's eyes narrowed in thought. "We need to act swiftly. If these resistance groups are allowed to regroup, they could destabilize the fragile peace we've established." John agreed. "We'll need to send out rapid response teams to quell these uprisings before they gain momentum. We can't afford to let them undermine our efforts." As the meeting continued, a sudden alert interrupted their discussion. "Captain, urgent message from the orbiting fleet," Arya's voice crackled over the comms. "We have incoming unidentified vessels entering the system. They're not Zalaxian." The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. "Put it on screen," John ordered. The view screen flickered to life, displaying a fleet of sleek, ominous ships entering Zalax Prime's orbit. Their design was unlike anything the Allies had encountered before, their menacing silhouettes hinting at advanced technology and unknown capabilities. "Who are they?" Zarex muttered, his eyes narrowing. A moment later, a transmission came through. The figure on the screen was a tall, imposing alien with sharp, angular features and piercing yellow eyes. I am Lord Kethar of the Draconis Dominion. We have come to reclaim what is rightfully ours. John's brow furrowed. What do you mean by that, Kethar? Kethar's gaze was cold and unyielding. The Zalaxians were but pawns in a larger game. Now that they have fallen, we will take control of their territory. Surrender now, and we might show mercy. The declaration from Lord Kethar sent shockwaves through the Allied command center. John, Zarex, and Corey exchanged tense glances. The threat posed by the Draconis Dominion was unprecedented and unexpected. We can't let them take control, John said, his voice filled with determination. Prepare the fleet for immediate engagement. We must defend Zalax Prime and show the Draconis Dominion that we will not be intimidated. The Allied fleet, still in orbit around Zalax Prime, quickly mobilized to confront the new threat. The battle-weary ships readied their weapons, and the crews steeled themselves for yet another fight. On the ground, John rallied his team. We need to fortify our positions and prepare for a potential ground invasion. The Draconis will likely attempt to land troops to take the capital. As the Allied forces scrambled to defend their hard-won gains, the skies above Zalax Prime lit up with the fire of battle. The Draconis ships engaged the Allied fleet, their advanced weaponry and tactics posing a formidable challenge. Admiral Corey, concentrate fire on their lead ship, John ordered over the comms. If we can take it down, it might disrupt their coordination. Corey's voice crackled back. Understood, Captain. All ships, target the Draconis flagship. The Allied fleet focused their firepower on the imposing Draconis command ship. The battle was fierce, with energy beams and missiles crisscrossing the void. Despite the Allies' best efforts, the Draconis ships held their ground, their shields absorbing the brunt of the attacks. Captain, their technology is more advanced than we anticipated, Arya reported, her fingers flying over the control panels. Our weapons are having limited effect. John's mind raced as he searched for a solution. We need to find a weakness. Keep analyzing their systems. There has to be something we can exploit. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Draconis launched a surprise assault. Dropships descended from the sky, deploying heavily armed troops into the heart of the capital. The Allied forces, caught off guard, fought valiantly to repel the invaders. John and his team moved through the chaotic streets, engaging Draconis soldiers in intense firefights. The enemy was relentless, their tactics ruthless and efficient. Despite the odds, the Allies held their ground, their resolve unshakable. As the battle raged on, Arya's voice came through the comms with a breakthrough. Captain, I've identified a potential vulnerability in their shield matrix. If we can overload their energy reserves, it might cause a cascade failure. John's eyes lit up with hope. Relay the coordinates to the fleet. All ships, focus your fire on these points. Let's take down that flagship. The Allied ships concentrated their fire on the identified weak points, unleashing a relentless barrage. The Draconis command ship's shields flickered and then collapsed, leaving it vulnerable. With a coordinated strike, the Allies dealt a crippling blow, causing the massive vessel to erupt in a spectacular explosion. The destruction of the Draconis flagship sent shockwaves through their fleet. The remaining Draconis ships faltered, their formation breaking as they attempted to regroup. Sensing the turning tide, the Allied fleet pressed their advantage, driving the invaders back. On the ground, the Draconis troops, now without support, began to retreat. The Allied forces pursued them, reclaiming the streets and securing the capital. As the last of the Draconis ships fled the system, a sense of relief washed over the Allies. The immediate threat had been repelled, but the victory came at a cost. The battle had taken its toll, and the path to lasting peace remained uncertain. In the aftermath, John stood with Zarex and Corey, surveying the city below. "We did it," he said, a mixture of exhaustion and pride in his voice. Zarex nodded. "But the galaxy remains a dangerous place. The Draconis Dominion will not be the last threat we face." Admiral Corey placed a hand on John's shoulder. "Together, we will overcome whatever challenges lie ahead. We've proven that unity and determination can achieve the impossible." John smiled, the weight of recent events settling on his shoulders. "Then let's get to work. There's still much to do, and the galaxy isn't going to save itself." With the Alliance stronger than ever, The humans, Zathari and Soran, set their sights on rebuilding and protecting the fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. As long as they stood together, there was hope for a brighter tomorrow. The battle against the Draconis Dominion had been hard fought, but it marked a decisive victory for the allied forces of humanity, the Zathari Dominion and the Soran Collective. With Zalax Prime secured and the Draconis fleet in retreat, the focus now shifted to rebuilding and solidifying the newly formed alliance. Captain John Mitchell stood on a platform overlooking the vast, war-torn expanse of Zalax Prime's capital. The once proud city now bore the scars of battle, but efforts to restore it were already underway. Allied engineers and workers from all three factions toiled side by side, repairing infrastructure and providing aid to the civilians affected by the conflict. John took a deep breath, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. High Commander Zarex and Admiral Corey joined him, their expressions mirroring his resolve. "We've come a long way," Zarex said, his eyes scanning the horizon. "But there's still much to do." John nodded. "The real challenge begins now. We need to ensure that this alliance remains strong and that we can rebuild what was lost. The galaxy is watching, and we need to set an example of unity and cooperation." Admiral Corey crossed her arms, her gaze steady. "We've proven that we can stand together against common threats. Now we need to prove that we can build a lasting peace." As they spoke, a delegation from the newly formed Intergalactic Council approached. The council had been established to govern the alliance and ensure that all member factions had a voice in the rebuilding process. Representatives from humanity, the Zathari Dominion, the Soran Collective, and even former Zalaxian leaders, who had pledged their allegiance to the new order, were present. "Captain Mitchell, High Commander Zarex, Admiral Corey," said Counselor Maris, a Zathari diplomat. "The Council is ready to discuss the next steps. Your leadership has been instrumental in bringing us to this point, and we look forward to your continued guidance." John exchanged a glance with Zarex and Corey. "We're ready," he said. "Let's get to work." The council meeting was held in a grand chamber that had once been the Zalaxian throne room. Now it served as a symbol of the new era, with banners representing each faction adorning the walls. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of hope and determination as the councilors took their seats. "Our first priority is to provide aid and support to the civilian population of Zalax Prime," John began, addressing the council. "We need to ensure that they have food, shelter, and medical care. Rebuilding trust with the Zalaxian people is crucial." Counselor Maris nodded in agreement. "We've already mobilized resources from the Zathari Dominion and the Soran Collective. Human aid ships are en route as well. We'll coordinate our efforts to maximize efficiency." Admiral Corey leaned forward. "We also need to address the remaining pockets of resistance. While the majority of Zalaxians have accepted the new order, there are still those who oppose it. We must handle this delicately to avoid further conflict." High Commander Zarex spoke next. "Our security forces will work closely with local leaders to root out any insurgents. We'll offer amnesty to those who surrender and agree to integrate into the new society." As the discussions continued, it became clear that the Council was committed to a cooperative approach. Each faction brought its strengths to the table, and by working together, they could achieve their goals. After hours of deliberation, the council meeting adjourned, and John, Zarex, and Corey stepped outside to address the gathered crowd. People from all walks of life, humans, Zathari, Soran, and Zalaxians, looked up at them with a mixture of curiosity and hope. John raised his voice, addressing the assembly. "Today marks the beginning of a new era. We've faced great challenges and overcome them through unity and determination. Now it's time to build a future where all our peoples can thrive together." Zarex stepped forward. "The Zathari Dominion stands with you. We will rebuild not just cities, but the bonds of trust and friendship that will ensure lasting peace." Admiral Corey added, "The Soran Collective is committed to this alliance. Together we will explore new frontiers and unlock the potential of our combined knowledge and technology." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the city. For the first time in a long while, hope filled the air. The alliance had proven its strength in battle, and now it would prove its strength in peace. As the celebrations continued, John found a moment of quiet reflection. He knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The challenges of rebuilding and maintaining peace were immense, but he also knew that they had the strength and determination to succeed. With allies like Zarex and Corey by his side, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. As long as they stood together, there was hope for a brighter tomorrow.